Hello everyone, welcome back to Oni-chan. Today, we will watch a very exciting adventure action movie about the most charming womanizer king of the seven oceans. In this world, there are witches and the existence of magical power. Among them, there are a few supreme witches known as Magri. Along with the appearance of the labyrinths, called dungeons. Those who can conquer these labyrinths will gain abundant wealth, authority, and even attain the power of gods. Magri will select a special individual to conquer the dungeons, transforming them into a king. In a small village on a day of heavy rain and storm, a baby boy was born, causing the Magri to sense an existence with immense power had come into existence. The name of that baby boy is Sinbad. His parents were filled with joy upon seeing their firstborn child. And this is still Sin. When he turned 3 years old, not quite meeting the expectations, he had a great affinity for the sea and would often sneak onto his father's fishing boat. But suddenly, a storm struck, leaving his father worried and unsure about what to do. That's when Sinbad showcased his special ability, guiding his father to safety and rescuing him from danger. At this moment, Sin's father was greatly surprised, because he felt a special power emanating from his own son, and he believed that Sin was the one who would change the world. 2 years later, when Sin had turned 5, while having lunch with his father, suddenly, a group of people arrived and harassed his father, because he had refused to participate in the war between the two empires, Parthivia and Rheme. The first dungeons had appeared on the border between the two empires, causing the outbreak of war. Sin's father used to be a hero of the nation. Even though the empire had offered him a considerable sum of money to continue aiding them in conquering the labyrinths, he realized it was a meaningless battle. Hence, Sin's father refused to participate in any more conflicts. Seeing his father being bullied without resistance, which infuriated Sin, he left. Upon arriving home, despite his anger, he still had to eat due to his hunger. Suddenly, the whole family discovered an injured man. He cried and thanked Sin for saving him. Sin was very curious about the man. At that moment, the man told Sin about his homeland, describing how vast the outside world was. This made Sin feel intrigued. Since that day, every day, Sin would listen to the stories told by that man. These stories awakened his longing for adventure. One day, soldiers came to Sin's house, claiming they were searching for a spy from the Rheme Empire. As they entered the house, the man instantly defeated them and displayed his true nature right in front of Sin. He then took Sin hostage in order to escape. At this point, no matter how much Sin's mother pleaded, no one stepped up to help her. Suddenly, Sin's father arrived and begged him to spare Sin. But it was in vain. As he was about to harm Sin, Sin's father rushed in and defeated him. Unexpectedly, the next day, Sin's father was captured by the Empire for harboring a spy. At this point, all the villagers scorned Sin's family. Despite being subjected to physical beatings and humiliation himself, he endured it, but he was determined not to let anyone touch his family, no matter what. And so, Sin's father showed everyone the scars from the meaningless war, leaving everyone astonished. He knew he couldn't survive to return, so he told Sin, "Please take care of your mother." In the end, Sin's father was led away right before his eyes. 9 years later, Sinbad, now a 14-year-old teenager, witnessed a group of people being bullied by robbers. Sin swiftly intervened and effortlessly dealt with the robbers. While it seemed like a chivalrous act, the young man's true intention was to impress girls. The girls were captivated by Sin's charm, so they ran off to get some fruit as a gift for him. But when they opened the fruit box, they found a young man with a quirky personality hiding inside. At this point, he introduced himself to Sin as Yunnan, a traveler. Sin then invited Yunnan to his village. Since the death of his father, the villagers had changed their perception and treated Sin very kindly. The next morning, when Yunnan woke up, he found that Sin had gone outside. He noticed that Sin's mother was ill, so Yunnan had a heartfelt conversation with her. She was saddened, knowing that her condition prevented Sin from doing what he wanted. Suddenly, they received news that Sin had been captured. At this moment, Sin had been apprehended by a squad leader named Drakon, as he had repeatedly evaded military assignments to enter dungeons. Despite being captured, Sin remained determined like his father. He would not obey the Empire's orders to participate in the meaningless war, no matter what. Unexpectedly, this time the entire village supported Sin. Suddenly, Drakon declared, "I am the one who will seize the power of the dungeons," and he challenged Sin. Finally, Drakon left, but it left Sin extremely annoyed. So, Yunnan suggested to Sin, "You should enter the dungeons and become a king. Only then can you change this country." This made Sin seemingly realize what he needed to do, and he was also very curious about Yunnan's true identity. By evening, Sin's mother noticed the change in her son. She then handed him his father's sword and said, "Do whatever you want, my child." The next day, Drakon prepared his army to enter the dungeons. But suddenly, Sin also appeared. He declared, "The power of this entire dungeon will belong to me." After that, he bid farewell to Yunnan and rushed straight towards the labyrinth. Drakon's army followed suit and entered as well. Inside the labyrinth, Sin encountered a different world that filled him with excitement. However, he was suddenly attacked by a dragon. The place was teeming with numerous monsters. These monsters relentlessly attacked anyone who ventured into the dungeons. The Empire had sent numerous people to enter this labyrinth, but none had ever managed to come out alive. At this point, there was no one left beside Drakon. When he was in danger, Sin came to his rescue. They managed to escape together. However, due to Drakon's prideful nature, he couldn't accept being saved by a commoner. As a result, the two of them kept arguing incessantly. Suddenly, they spotted a colossal dragon king looming above them. Realizing that they were in an extremely perilous situation, the two young men ceased their quarreling. Sin saw a gate behind the Dragon King. They needed to cooperate to pass through that gate. If not, both of them would have to die within this labyrinth. However, due to his arrogant nature, Drakon kept giving orders to Sin and even belittled the lives of the soldiers. He insisted that sacrificing for the Empire was their duty that must be fulfilled, which greatly infuriated Sin. So, Drakon decided to stealthily approach the gate on his own. However, upon arrival, he realized he couldn't open the gate. Suddenly, he was spotted by the dragon. He thought he was about to become breakfast for the dragon, but unexpectedly, Sin arrived to rescue him. At this moment, Drakon felt utterly desperate, as he realized he was unworthy of being a commander of the Empire due to his fear. However, Sin scolded him severely and took up his weapon to confront the dragon. Sin used his shield to glide across the water currents to attack the Dragon King. Just as the Dragon King was about to counterattack, Sin charged directly at its head, causing the dragon to disappear before Drakon's astonished eyes. Both of them obtained the key to unlock the gate. At this point, Drakon had changed his perspective on Sin, beginning to acknowledge the young man before him. But along the way, they still continued to argue incessantly. At this moment, they had reached the final room. Sin discovered a lamp and upon touching it, a deity suddenly appeared. He introduced himself as Baal and asked, "Which of you two will become the king?" At this point, both of them stepped forward to compete with each other, so they had to fight each other to compete for the recognition of the deity. With his agility, Sin skillfully evaded Drakon's attacks. However, thanks to his swordsmanship skills and combat experience, Drakon easily gained the upper hand over Sin. Just when he was about to finish him off, Sin used his bare hands to block Drakon's sword and immediately punched him in the face. While Sin might not have been as skilled in swordsmanship as Drakon, but when it came to a fistfight, Drakon was no match for Sin's punches. Unexpectedly, Drakon didn't give up. He stood up and charged at Sin once again, because there was still something he needed to protect, his crush, the princess of the Empire, whom he had secretly loved for a long time. Despite his efforts, he continued to be relentlessly pummeled by Sin. Unable to avoid Sin's punches, at this point, the deity had chosen Sin as his master and granted Sin his power. In the end, both of them were summoned back outside. Sin became the first person to successfully conquer the dungeons. When he woke up, Sin saw a multitude of treasures before him. Soldiers appeared, demanding that Sin hand over all his treasures to the Empire. However, Sin refused. As they were about to capture him, suddenly, Yunnan appeared and guided Sin on how to use his newfound power. Thanks to that, Sin was able to push back the soldiers. Yunnan then used magic to transport Sin back to the village. However, upon returning, Sin received news that his mother's condition was worsening. Even in her final moments, Sin's mother wished for him to have the freedom to embark on adventures, to tread the path he had chosen. When he was about to embark on his adventure, he encountered the princess of the Empire. She was bullying the villagers, and it turned out she was Drakon's crush. Sin then taught her a memorable lesson and took her out to the sea to play with the fish on her own. Afterwards, Sin resumed his journey. Dungeons began appearing everywhere, prompting many to set out and attempt to conquer these labyrinths. Meanwhile, in the Empire, Drakon was dispatched along with a group of skilled assassins to pursue Sin and reclaim the treasures. On Sin's side, he was shivering in a frigid, icy sea. Suddenly, he spotted two siblings under attack by a sea unicorn. At that moment, the younger sister had fallen into the water and fainted, but her older brother managed to rescue her. The older brother continued to try to fight against the sea unicorn, but still couldn't injure it. Seeing the sea unicorn targeting the girl, Sin, with his flirtatious nature, immediately stepped forward to help them. He used the power of the jinn's lamp to defeat the sea unicorn. At this moment, the girl regained consciousness, and saw that the sea unicorn had been defeated, thinking that her brother had done it, which made her very happy. With his flirtatious nature, Sin immediately rushed in, held her hand, and introduced himself. It turns out that her name is Pirika, and this young man is Hina. They come from a northern tribe, and they are also the children of the tribal chief. Because Hina is fond of a beautiful girl within the tribe, to win her heart, he has to go outside and defeat a sea unicorn, to prove himself as a warrior. The next day, the two brothers brought Sinbad back to their tribe. However, the first thing he noticed was still the attractive girls in the village. At this moment, the tribe leader appeared, but he didn't seem very welcoming towards Sin. Despite that, he still insisted on staying and having a meal first to fill his stomach. At this point, the tribe leader acknowledged Hina as a strong warrior of the tribe, and tonight, there will be a celebration held for Hina's coming of age to celebrate, because they believed he was the one who had defeated the sea unicorn. The tribe leader informed Sinbad and Hina that a peculiar labyrinth had appeared nearby and suggested that Hina investigate it. However, Sinbad immediately intervened, warning them that the dungeon is very dangerous. However, they still didn't believe until Sin used his own power to prove it. At this point, the tribal chief began to respect Sinbad more, knowing that he was a powerful individual. That evening, everyone was joyous as they celebrated together. However, only Hina did not participate, feeling guilty for having deceived everyone. By nightfall, Sinbad was attacked by an assassin. However, he woke up in time and fought back against the assailant. At this moment, he realized that the attacker was just a young boy. Surprisingly, the very fast assassin managed to overpower Sinbad, thinking that victory was his. However, Sinbad quickly utilized the power of the jinn, causing the assassin to faint. At this point, all three of them interrogated the young boy, but he turned out to be a stubborn little brat, still proud of having killed his own parents. And so, Sinbad slapped it across the face, gave it a pitying look, making the brat uncomfortable, so it tried to find a way to escape and fled with its companions. At this moment, Hina, knowing that Sin didn't like to be bound by fate, made up his mind to venture into the dungeons alone, aiming to become a true warrior. Sin decided to chase after Hina to protect him. At this moment, Hina was surprised by the world inside the dungeons. He thought it might not be dangerous, but unexpectedly, he was attacked by a swarm of insects. Wanting to escape from them, Hina dove into the water to get away. Just as he managed to escape the insects, he found himself facing a giant crab and had to fight it off using his own strength. When he was about to deliver the finishing blow, suddenly Drakon's group appeared, defeated the crab, and took the key to pass through the gate. This infuriated Hina, leading him to charge and attack them. At this moment, they also demonstrated their strength and relentlessly attacked Hina. Just when he thought he would fail, Sinbad appeared and saved Hina. The young assassin still holds a grudge against Sin for hitting him last time, so he rushed to attack Sin. He was met with another punch from Sin. On Hina's side, he was being attacked by two other individuals. Realizing the disadvantage they were in, Hina pulled Sin along to jump into a nearby lake to escape. The sorceress used her magic to freeze the river, but luckily, both of them managed to escape. At this moment, Drakon's group had entered the final room. A jinn appeared. However, he quickly eliminated the sorceress. He knew that she was just a puppet being controlled by someone else. At this moment, Drakon stood up and said that he wanted to possess the power of the jinn to serve the king, disappointing the jinn quite a bit because he felt that Drakon lacked the ambition to become a king. At this point, Sinbad and Hina also arrived. Then, the jinn presented a challenge for everyone to participate in. He conjured a cat and proposed that if anyone could catch it first, they would become his owner. The whole group enthusiastically rushed to catch the cat, but it was too fast for anyone to catch. Sin had an idea and suggested that they all cooperate. He said, "I won't participate in this game," and he would assist them in catching the cat. Intrigued by Sin's proposal, everyone agreed, so they all surrounded the cat, each wanting the power for themselves. Meanwhile, Sin stood above, giving commands. As everyone rushed in to catch the cat, it suddenly leapt up. In an instant, Sin dashed forward and caught the cat. It turns out that everything was part of his plan, helping Sin become the victor and making the whole group angry. But at this moment, Sin said to everyone that he is the one who needs this power the most, because Sin will establish a nation that can change the whole world. This made everyone feel moved by Sin's words, as if they were seeing a true king right in front of them, and they wanted to follow him. But only the brat was determined to resist Sin and not go along with him. Suddenly, they all got poisoned, having previously consumed a potion given by the sorceress. Drakon decided to eliminate them, but Sin intervened to stop him. Sin chose to save all of them. At this moment, they had turned into a monstrous creature and were attacking Sin. As he was trying to figure out how to save them, the Jinn informed him that they were at the core of the creature, providing it with energy. All he needed to do was to destroy the core with a powerful strike to save them. The creature then turned to attack Hina and Drakon. Sin swiftly moved in and severed one of its arms. However, as he was about to continue his assault, the creature managed to snatch away his Jinn weapon. Just then, the sorceress appeared once again. It turned out that she was serving the older brother of Drakon, and he intended to eliminate his own younger sibling. So Drakon and Hina continued to be attacked by the creature. Even though he didn't have Jinn weapons, Sinbad still charged at the creature to attack, earning Hina's increasing admiration for Sin's determination. In response, Hina concentrated his own strength. He broke the creature's arm and escaped. At this point, Sin was able to effortlessly evade incoming attacks and restrain the creature, biding time for Hina to execute a decisive strike. But unexpectedly, he was ambushed by the sorceress and caught by the creature. So, Drakon also jumped in to attack the creature. This time, he made a decision to declare war against his own brother in order to claim the princess. Finally, Hina had finished her preparations and unleashed her ultimate technique. He managed to defeat the monster with a powerful blow. Sin also managed to retrieve his Jinn weapon. They thought they had saved everyone. But unexpectedly, the young assassin began to transform again. This time, Sin decided to take matters into his own hands and save the young assassin himself. He delved deep into the young assassin's memories and discovered that he had been raised and trained by the assassin organization since he was a child. They even went so far as to compel the young boy to kill his own parents, forcing the boy to conceal his emotions and become strong in order to survive. But thanks to the warmth of Sin, the boy regained his consciousness, and he activated the power of the Jinn's lamp, striking down the creature once again. At this moment, the entire group was safe. Sensing that Sinbad was a special person, the Jinn asked once again, "Who shall become the king?" And at that moment, everyone unanimously acknowledged Sin as their new king. After receiving the power of the Jinn, the group was summoned back to the outside world. At this point, Drakon was compelled to return to the Empire, as he still had to go back to protect his princess. But Drakon had received a portion of power from Sin's Jinn, which was evidence of Sin's trust in him. By evening, the entire group returned and continued to celebrate with Hina's tribe. At this moment, Hina decided to talk to his father, saying, "I want to follow Sinbad and together with him, change the world." Surprisingly, his father immediately agreed, as he trusted his son's judgment. The next day, the group was provided with a ship and continued their journey. At this time, Jafar and Sin were being taught by Hina's wife about how to become merchants, and that is the ending when daring to argue with a woman. Finally, Sin had arrived at the Reem Empire, filling him with excitement. Because he wanted to build a nation, Sin realized the need for a substantial amount of money. So, he decided to establish a trade fleet as a first step in building up his resources, and engage in trade with all the nations across the world. The first thing they needed to do was become traders and engage in the exchange of goods between Hina's tribe and the Reem Empire. Thanks to Sin's ability to charm girls and his handsome appearance, he gained a lot of support from many girls. However, they were chased away by soldiers because Sin's group didn't have the proper trading permit from the empire. Suddenly, a strange man appeared, and claimed that he could assist Sin in purchasing all these products, making the whole group very happy as they received their first coins. But it wasn't until evening that they realized the products that they had sold to that man had been resold by him at a price 10 times higher. On their first day in the Reem Empire, the whole group was deceived. But Sin didn't give up. He allowed Hina's group to return to their tribe to continue acquiring products. Sin, on the other hand, stayed alone in the Reem Empire to obtain a merchant license. Unexpectedly, he encountered the same man again. However, Sin wasn't angry with him. Instead, he invited the man to have a meal together. Sin saw this as an opportunity to learn more from him and gain further experience. They confided in each other, and Sin shared his adventure with him. When he learned about Sin's ambitious dreams, it surprised him. So, he challenged Sin. If Sin could earn 1,000 gold coins within a month, he would assist Sin in obtaining the trading license from the Reem Empire. And exactly 1 month later, he returned. He was quite surprised to see Sin using his stories to earn money from people. Eventually, he agreed to assist Sin in obtaining the trading license from the Reem Empire. It was only then that Sinbad realized that he was the king of the Balbad kingdom, a renowned realm in commerce. When Ja'far's group returned, they were greatly surprised to see Sinbad's fame in the Reem Colosseum. Their astonishment grew even more when they witnessed that Sin had established his own trading company called Sindria. Afterward, Sinbad, along with Ja'far and Hina, embarked on another journey. They arrived at another kingdom named Sasan to seek further business opportunities for Sindria. However, upon their arrival, they noticed that they were being avoided by the locals. It seemed that the kingdom was not interested in engaging with outsiders and was unwilling to establish any business relationships with them. So, Sin decided that he needed to find the king of the kingdom directly to discuss the business matters with him. However, when he attempted to approach the king, he was blocked by the guards. Despite facing rejection multiple times, Sin continued to persistently try to meet the king by all means possible, but his efforts were still unsuccessful. At this moment, a young man appeared and wanted to talk to Sin. When Sin found out that he was the son of the king, he immediately agreed to speak with him. The young man's name was Mistress, but he was constantly chased away by the innkeeper because he couldn't interact with outsiders. Sinbad then employed his charming tactics on the innkeeper, causing her to soften and leave. It turns out that being handsome can have its advantages at times. It's only at this point that they realize the people of Sasan are not allowed to leave the country. So, Mistress becomes very curious about the outside world. Sin proceeds to tell him about his own journey, igniting Mistress' enthusiasm for his own adventurous dreams. The next morning, Mistress plans to escape with Sin, but his father catches him in the act. At this moment, he expressed his wish to his father. Unexpectedly, he was slapped directly in the face by his father, leaving Mistress angry and walking away. He came to find Sin, asking Sin to take him along. Seeing Mistress' determination, Sin agreed. The next morning, the group was preparing to leave, when suddenly Yunnan appeared. He informed Sin that many dungeons had emerged, and many countries had obtained the power of the jinn. Among them was the Sasan kingdom. As for Mistress, he was forced to defeat all the knights of the kingdom, if he wanted to leave, and there was only one person left, Mistress' father, the king of the knights. He was also the wielder of the power of the jinn. Mistress relentlessly launched attacks against him, but couldn't manage to harm him in any way. At this point, his father used a portion of his power and repelled Mistress. However, Mistress didn't give up and continued his assault, and he was once again thrown back. Due to the vast difference in strength between the two, suddenly, Sinbad stepped forward to showcase his strength, and challenged the king to a duel. Thus, the two of them began to battle each other. Sin relentlessly attacked him, astonishing everyone with his power. However, that still wasn't his true strength. At this moment, Sin had become much stronger. He had harnessed a new power known as Jinn Equip, transforming into an armored suit that enveloped his body. This left the king in awe of his newfound strength. Sin unleashed a powerful attack towards him, rendering him unable to defend against it. However, Sin then took the king away, to have a private conversation with him. Even though Sin had demonstrated his immense strength, the king still refused to give in. So, Sin had to deliver another powerful blow, to make him realize the stark difference between them. Finally, he managed to break the king's will. At this point, Sin proposed forming an alliance with Sasan, explaining that many nations around the world had conquered dungeons. This indicated an impending war, and Sin wanted to establish a strong alliance, capable of changing the world. So Sin brought him back and he also agreed to form an alliance with Sin. Finally, Mistress was given permission by the king to accompany Sinbad in exploring the outside world. At this moment, the whole group was heading towards a kingdom called Artemyra. When they heard that the kingdom was inhabited only by women, immediately made Mistress nosebleed just from thinking. Upon arriving at the kingdom of Artemyra, they encountered two girls riding a giant bird. The girls said that if Sin's group could cross the mountain pass ahead, they would be able to reach the kingdom and have fun with them. Sin immediately started flirting with the two girls, making them shy away and fly off. When they reached the mountain pass, Sin felt extremely tired and exhausted. The path ahead was incredibly long and required a lot of physical strength to overcome. At this point, Sin had the idea of using Jinn Equip to fly straight to where the girls were. However, Ja'far immediately dismissed the idea, as it could give the kingdom the wrong impression and consider him an enemy. But eventually, the whole group reached the paradise of men. At this point, they were emitting an unpleasant odor due to not bathing for several days. Consequently, they were avoided by the girls around. After cleaning themselves up by taking a bath, Sin's group entered the palace to meet the queen. However, they were immediately chased away by the queen. So Sin once again put his charm to work. attempting to flirt with the beautiful queen. However, his efforts proved ineffective against the queen's strong demeanor. She apprehended Sin along with his companions, discovering that Sin was also a wielder of the power of the jinn. Therefore, she took away his weapons. She also took away all their clothes and pushed all three of them down into the abyss. Only Hina, who is tall and strong, was kept behind to play with them. On Sin's side, luckily they fell into a water lake, so they survived. The group was cold and hungry. By evening, they had to share their sleeping space with a group of snakes, but at this point, Jafar realized that these snakes were their food source. The Sin's group gradually adapted to their life in the wilderness, enjoying a simple, comfortable, and free life there. But the next day, seeing how comfortable Sin was with their current life, made Mistress angry, so, he decided to find a way out himself, as he always remembered the advice of the girls that as long as he returned safely, he could play with them. Suddenly, Mistress found a piece of meat. While Mistress was contemplating how to leave, Sin and Jafar immediately grilled the piece of meat to eat. By evening, as they were both wondering where the meat had come from, suddenly, they noticed a gigantic bird swooping down to grab the meat and flying away. At this moment, Sin came up with a plan to escape. He realized that this was how the villagers collected gemstones. They dropped pieces of meat from above, which the gemstones would get stuck to. Then, when birds came to take the meat, they would unknowingly bring the gemstones back up. At this moment, Sin managed to escape from the pit by hiding within the pieces of meat. He then infiltrated the royal palace and attempted to charm the queen to regain his weapon. However, the queen revealed her own power by employing the jinn equip, and engaged in a battle with Sin. The two of them started to fight each other. Unexpectedly, the queen possessed lightning magic, which allowed her to counter both Sin and his jinn equip attacks. Sin then utilized a different jinn equip to continue the battle against her. With his agility, he easily evaded the queen's attacks. He then used his ice magic to attack her, but it proved ineffective. Surprisingly, the queen revealed that she possessed all three attributes of magic: lightning, ice, and fire. Thus, she continued her relentless assault on Sin, thinking she had finally defeated him, but unexpectedly, Sin reappeared behind the queen. This time, the queen unleashed her extreme magic, combining all three elements to attack Sin. To her surprise, Sin easily countered the attack. It turned out that in this state, Sin's true power could slow down his opponent's movements. Despite the queen's efforts, she couldn't capture him. Ultimately, Sin emerged victorious in the battle against the queen. The next morning, the queen summoned Sin to meet with her. As he approached her, the encounter caused Mistress to have a nosebleed. Eventually, the queen agreed to form an alliance with Sin. In this meeting, the queen revealed to him the existence of Magri. These are wizards of creation and selection, individuals chosen to become kings. They are beings cherished by Rook, and Rook is a form of life energy. Sin suddenly remembered Yunnan and realized that he was a Magri. At this moment, the group was preparing to return, but Mistress still hesitated to leave, and they also forgot about one more person, Hina. While the rest of the group struggled at the bottom of the pit, these two young men were here enjoying themselves. Out of anger, the two of them immediately rushed to the red light district, but upon arriving, they started to regret their decision. The next morning, both of them appeared with downcast faces. At this point, the whole group had a new female member. As Sin's group prepared to leave, the queen personally came to see them off, accompanied by her children. Among them was a little girl who really liked Sin, and so, they all returned together. Sin's trading caravan at this point had greatly expanded, and he still had a long journey ahead to fulfill his dream of becoming the ruler of the seven seas. This video concludes here. In the future, Sinbad will become the most powerful king of the seven seas, a part that will be covered in the Mythical Labyrinth series. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to support Oni-chan in the upcoming videos. Thank you for following along. Much love.